What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Wednesday, which means we're going to be getting an injury report later today. First one this week. So that's always interesting. I'll make a video about that in the late afternoon. So stay tuned for that one. I don't think there's going to be that much compelling stuff in the injury report this week, to be perfectly honest. The Seahawks look very healthy. They looked very healthy last week, and you would only expect that to get better. And on the Patriots side, there are a couple of interesting things going on, but this does not seem like it's going to be a game that is overly defined by injuries. But nevertheless, we're going to get our report later today. Maybe we'll learn something unexpected. And also, just to remind people, I've got two shows today. One is going to be at noon, so about 3 hours from the upload of this video. The Hawks Nest show. You guys know what it's all about. We're going to go then. So we're going a day early. And I've got another show I'm going to be doing later in the afternoon. All right, everybody, before we go any further into this video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about the Sleeper app. We are just about to the Super Bowl. Now would be a great time to get on Sleeper. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. Celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get scores, you can get news, you get alerts with blazing fast speed, all kinds of sports stuff. You can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. Enjoy sports together with a community. Download the Sleeper app today. And when you do, use promo code SBN for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And also, utilize the free $20 entry with no deposit required. All you have to do is make an account for that one. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper and have some fun with sports this year. So yeah, that second show should be going live around 3. That's going to be a guest appearance on another person's podcast. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to have some fun. Obviously doing a little bit of extra stuff this week that I don't typically do because it is Super Bowl week and it's not often your team is in the Super Bowl. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. So this video, since there's not going to be a lot of time for pre-recorded videos today because I'm doing multiple shows, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about an area where I think the Patriots could give the Seahawks the most trouble, because I've talked about Drake May and I've talked about their running game. And ultimately, I feel like the Seahawks are going to do pretty well against both of those things. Mostly because I don't think New England's offensive line is playing that well. I don't think they're that good of a group. So let's go to something where the Patriots could be a problem. And when I think of the Patriots being a problem in this game, I look at their interior defensive line. The interior defensive line is an area where I think the Patriots could win the battle, maybe even win the battle by a lot, and potentially find a way to make that the important part of the game. This is probably the most this is probably the yeah, I would go so far as to say this is probably the best interior defensive line the Seahawks have played this season. If the Steelers were healthy when we played them, it probably would have been them, but they weren't. So I feel like New England's got the best interior defensive lineman of any team that we've run into this year. Maybe you could talk about the Rams, I guess, but the thing with their interior defensive linemen is it's kind of a mixed bag, right? Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, those guys are really, really good in some areas, but they also bring a lot of weaknesses to the table in other areas. So I don't know how to really feel about that. And while I will admit that Rams' defensive front as a whole, like their front four, is way better than New England's front line, I think that the Patriots bring a lot to the table on the interior specifically. And it all starts with Milton Williams. In my mind, he's probably the best player or second best player on this team. This is a guy they signed from Philadelphia last year. He was part of the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl last year. He's an undersized 3-tech pass rusher. He's just about to turn 27, so he's more or less in his prime. He did get hurt this year. He did miss a slew of games for them. He only played 12 games total. but very good pass rusher, very disruptive. He's really blossomed into a dangerous threat for any interior offensive line. And when I think about mismatches in this Super Bowl, when I think about problems that this Patriots team could give us, I think about a guy like Milton Williams, who I know you're looking at these numbers right now and you're thinking to yourself, this is not anything all that special. 3.5 sacks in 12 games is not amazing. You take a look at his advanced numbers, the pressure numbers, they're not extraordinary. I'm not saying this guy is as good as Leonard Williams. He's not. I'm not saying he's on that level, but I'm also saying don't sleep on him either. He's probably better than these numbers indicate because like I said, he got hurt this year, he missed time. This is a dangerous player regardless, and in my mind he's at the very least the best player on the Patriots defense. So let's start the conversation there. And then on the other side, you've got Christian Barmore. He basically does one-tech stuff for them, although I don't totally think of him as a pure one-tech. This is a guy who can generate pressure. This is a guy with good get-off. This is another guy who's 26, going to turn 27 in the offseason, so more or less in his physical prime. He's a little bit bigger than Milton Williams, but he's not one of these giant, oversized nose tackles. Former second-round pick. He's played all 17 games this year. He missed most of last season. And remember, the year before that, 2023, I know he's playing on a bad team, but he had 8.5 sacks in 2023 and was looking like a breakout star in this league. And then last year, he barely played because of injuries. So there was every reason to believe that Barmore was going to be a kind of a breakout player going forward. And that breakout got arrested a little bit. And look, I know 2 sacks this year is not going to impress anybody, and you take a look at the pressure count, 15 is okay, but it's also not blowing anybody away. But keep in mind, he is at one tech this year because that's where they've needed him because they signed Milton Williams, and he is kind of the very first part of that defense that you run into. And in my mind, he is one of their best players on defense. You could make an argument that he's number 2. I think he's probably number 3 behind Williams and then, of course, Gonzalez. But this is another very, very good and very dangerous player. This is a guy who will be an issue for this offensive line in my mind. And you put those two guys together, and then you add a guy like Kairos Tonga, who is their first defensive tackle off the bench. And this is a bigger guy. This is a true nose tackle, 29 years old, former 7th round pick of the Bears. Not a superstar or anything like that. I'm not here to suggest that he's some all-time elite player. He's a journeyman, but he works very well in this rotation with Barmore and Williams. And in my mind, he does bring the room together, even though he himself is a relatively unremarkable player. This is a guy who gives you some legitimate reps as a run-stuffing nose tackle. He occupies space. He occupies blocks. And while the numbers are not going to blow you away, I think his impact on the defense is noticeable. So you look at these guys, and then you look at the Seahawks and what they have on the interior offensive line, which, look, for the most part, it's gotten better lately, right? Gray Zabel has been playing his best football in recent weeks, which is really, really cool because he isn't hitting the rookie wall. And then you've got Jalen Sundell, who's been really, really good in recent weeks working within the offense. And you do have better stuff, but it's still, to me, the closest thing this team has to a weakness, that interior offensive line. And you've still got Anthony Bradford, who has not had a great postseason so far and obviously did not have a very good season. We do have some issues in that area. And when I think about a mismatch in this game in the favor of the Patriots, this is one of the few things that really comes up in my mind. I think we can go toe-to-toe with their secondary. I don't think their linebackers are great. I don't think their edge rushers. I mean, honestly, when you compare it to the rest of the league, their edge rusher room might be just kind of like slightly above average, but this interior is intimidating against our interior offensive line. And you take a look at their performance so far this year, and let's just talk about what they do against the run specifically, okay? because the concern in a game like this is the Seahawks are not able to run the ball. If the Seahawks can't run the ball, they may end up in situations where they either have to throw the ball a lot or they have to throw the ball into third and long. And if either of those things happen, that's where bad stuff starts to leak in. The Seahawks have been terrible on third and long this year. They are one of the worst third and long teams in football. And the Patriots are one of the best teams in the league on third and long defensively. So if they get the Seahawks into third and long, they're feeling very good about their chances. And that all starts with the team that struggles to run the ball. So look, regular season, you look at that Patriots defense, they were above average in terms of EPA, and their rush EPA was bang average, negative 0.077, 16th in the league. So they had a mediocre run defense in the regular season. But you take a look at the postseason so far, and I know it's just 3 games, and I know that they've played weaker offenses, but in terms of rush EPA through their 3 postseason games, they've been excellent on the with run defense, negative 0.254. Only Houston is better than that, and I mean Houston's basically broken the scale here. You can see that the Patriots' run defense in terms of EPA has been better than Seattle's. Now Seattle's only played 2 games. One of them was against the Rams, a team that typically gives them problems because they have a more power inside zone rushing attack. So I'm not saying that it's completely a clean comparison, but I think you are pretty clearly looking at a run defense that is playing their best football right now, and you look at the personnel they've got in the middle, it is a group that could give this Seahawks offense some problems, and if they do, that can lead to some bad things. And if you just want to look at the straight numbers, you go to what they've done so far in the postseason in terms of run defense. 87 yards to the Chargers, 48 to the Texans, 79 to Denver. Now, some of that is because they're constantly playing from ahead. And that's also a big reason why they didn't allow a lot of rushing yards during the regular season. Like you take a look at some of these numbers, and you will come away with the impression that they got a really good run defense. They're barely allowing anything, but think about how often they play with a big lead and the other team has no choice but to pass. So I'm not saying their run defense was excellent during the regular season. It wasn't. It was okay. It was probably closer to average when you take everything into account. And when you also account for the fact that they weren't necessarily playing the best teams, and some of these offenses they were playing really didn't even have a chance. Okay, you're not talking about anything to get too excited about. But to me, if the game is going to be lost, this is where the game gets lost. You lose against their interior defensive line, namely Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, and that means you cannot run the ball, and that means that you're in third and long, and that means the Patriots get to kind of tee off on you. So if you're wondering where I think this Patriots team can be the biggest pain to the Seahawks, it would probably be here. I am a little bit worried about our ability to run the ball, especially on the inside. I am a little bit worried about our ability to protect the pocket from collapsing on interior rushes. That to me is the number one thing. I gotta admit, I look at the rest of this Patriots team and I think they're respectable. I think they're good, but this is the one area where I'm like, this could be a problem. All right. So if you wanted to know where I see this game potentially going a bad direction, you now know it. Like I said, everything else with this Patriots team, I feel pretty good about. Offensively, I don't think their offensive line is all that, and I think we can handle their run game. I think that we can handle those receivers. I think we can get pressure on May. I think our receiver room can do the job against that secondary. And if we can get to the second level, the New England linebackers are fine, but I don't think they're anything over the top great. But this interior, watch out for them. Take care of your business in there. Double Milton Williams if you got to. Throw guys at Christian Barmore. Be ready for them to give you issues. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. Stream in a few hours. Another stream a few hours after that. More stuff coming.